everyone, welcome to Hope Worldwide. Today we are going to learn something from the subject called management. Okay, so I thought I will emphasize on the basic aspect of management, which is called as the elements of administration or elements of management, Postscope. I think it's a part of the curriculum of MBA, BBA, MSW, and also you study under nursing subjects. In BSc Nursing, you study in your fourth year, and MSc Nursing you study as part of your management, and I think B.Ed students also will come across this topic under your educational management. Okay, so as we know that management emphasize on utilizing or emphasizing on more productivity through utilizing the minimum resources, and it has to follow certain rules and regulations and certain principles. Okay, we'll also look at what are the 14 principles of management. At the same time, we will study about the elements of management. That's nothing but post scope, planning, organizing, staffing, directing, coordinating, reporting, and budgeting. I will be sharing some slides. You can please make notes or please identify the keywords what I have used in the presentation. And happy learning to everyone. And I'm going to share about an article what I come across about postcope elements of management. Hope you're going to enjoy it. Okay, so let's begin with the topic postcope, which is considered as an effective tool for work management. So it's an acronym actually which is used for elements of administration or components of management. So when you expand the term postcope, P stands for planning, O stands for organizing, S stands for staffing, D stands for directing, CO stands for coordinating, R stands for reporting, and B stands for budgeting. So I've taken this from an article which is written by Palak. Okay, so it's about Flourish Pure Foods Private Limited. So I've got it from the internet when I was searching for some concept about postcode, and I'm going to explain this concept from this article. Okay, so they have also mentioned some of the 14 principles of management, like 14 principles. So we will see in detail. So when you talk about Postcorp is very useful because it makes the management so effective and so organized. It helps in taking the right managerial decision and correct information flow within the organization while performing any particular task. It decides the number of persons that one manager could manage effectively. Okay, so that means like if you look at this last sentence, that's about a span of control. When you talk about Postcorp, it's very useful to make the right decision. So management is all about making decision about how the resources are being allocated or how to assign the resources according to the expertise of the personals or manpower you have in your hand. Okay, and it also very useful for making correct information flow or communication flow within the organization, which makes an effective and a very productive organizational framework. Now, the strength of Postcorp, it's ultimately associated with all these 14 firewalls principles. Like if you apply Postcorp, it's definitely highlight, the strength of all these principles like division of work, authority and responsibilities, discipline, unity of command, unity of deduction, subordination of individual interest to general interest, remuneration, centralization versus decentralization, line of authority with peer level communication, order, equity, stability of tenure of personnel's initiative, and esprit de corps, which implies team spirit. Okay, so these are 14 firewalls principles which we have like already studied in firewalls 14 principles, like division of labor, where you divide your work according to the expertise and number of personals work in the organization. Like authority, discipline is all about rules and regulations, unity of command, unity of direction, which implies there should be a single source of commands or direction so that the organizational goals can be achieved in a more productive way. Subordination, remuneration is all about payment or giving salary to the employees. Okay, centralization, decentralization, order, equity, so all these terms we have already going to study in principles of management. Now, Postcorp is a tool that any senior authority can use for a governing a team effectively to achieve organizational goal by directing efforts of each team member. And that means Postscope is very essential tool, or it's very mandatory, like in the management, for making the management more effective, or thereby organizational goals can be achieved. Because even in our daily life, planning is very important, organizing is more important. Organizing makes a task to be achieved in a very well manner. So same way, when we apply into this management, Postcode is very useful device, or very useful technique, so that the management, or the organization will run very smoothly in a productive way. The word that makes a good manager, decisiveness. Okay, so in the year of 1937, social scientist Luther Gulick and Urwick described seven major activities and duties of any higher authority of organization. Those seven functions are described as Postscope. So it's about the theoretical, theoretical discovery of this theory, like Postscope. It's being discovered by the social scientist Luther Gulick and L. Urwick in 1937. As we have mentioned before, POSCOB is an acronym widely used in the field of management and public administration that reflects classic view of administrative management. When Gulick was asked what is the work of a senior authority in any organization, he summarized his answer in acronym POSCOB, which stands for planning, organizing, staffing, directing, coordinating, reporting, and budgeting. POSCOB is also considered as a principle, or is a rule that focus on the theory of span of control, or limits on the number of people one manager could supervise, as well as unity of command to the fields of management and the public administration. This principle also helped to manage responsibilities, work breakdown structure, information and direction, budget allocation, decision making, and authorities allocation. So here you can read what are the different advantages of postcode. You can make a point of all these, like it helps for span of control, it helps in you know increasing the efficacy of administration, and it also helps to manage responsibilities, and it brings work breakdown structure, information and direction. Where you talk about information, you can also connect with the communication, what happens in the organization. So it makes a smooth communication between manager and employees, and it's also helpful for budget allocations, or you can call it as resources allocation, decision making, and authorities allocation. Or like sometimes a postcode is very useful. Even here you can remember a term called delegation. Okay, when you give the work, or when a manager is delegating the responsibilities. Delegation implies giving responsibilities along with power, okay, to the subordinate. So in all this process, actually postcode is very essential, and it can be called as one of the mandatory principles that has to be followed in management. Here you can see the schematic picture. It's like postcode is a cyclical form. Like it starts with planning, organizing, staffing, directing, coordinating, reporting, and budgeting. So it all, like every aspect in postcode is ultimately interrelated. Like planning, when you talk about planning implies purpose in hand. Organizing means priority in hand. Staffing implies power in hand. Directing implies pathway in hand. Coordinating implies process in hand. Reporting implies proof in hand, whereas budgeting implies profit in hand. So postcop is very essential, and it's also considered as a cyclical principle that has to be followed in management. Now let's discuss one by one. When you talk about planning, it's a process of thinking about and organizing the activities required to achieve a desired goal. It involves creation and maintenance of plan. As such, planning is a fundamental property of intelligent behavior. This thought process is essential to the creation and refinement of a plan, or integration of it with other plan. So planning is actually the initial step of postco, which helps for fundamental. It's considered as a fundamental aspect of management, which helps for creating or refinement of a plan, so that the other continuous work will be taken place without any kind of confusion or ambiguity. So when you talk about the other one, we'll just move on to organizing. As I told about, organizing is about priority in hand. So you can just study it. It's an act of rearranging elements following one by one. Anything is commonly considered organized when it looks like everything has correct order or placement. But it's only ultimately organized if any element has no difference on time taken to find it. In that sense, organizing also be defined as to place different objects in logical arrangement for better searching. So I would say in organizing, you have to remember it's about prioritization, arrangement, and rearrangement of resources or the activity of the organization. Okay, so we'll move on to the next, staffing. Staffing implies power in hand. So when you have human resource, is the most important power that can be considered as for an effective management. Staffing is a process of acquiring, deploying, and retaining a workforce of sufficient quantity or quality to create positive impacts on the organization's effectiveness. Acquisition comprises the recruitment process leading to the employment of staff. Recruitment process implies selecting the right person for the right job. It includes human resource planning to identify what organization requires in terms of numbers of employees needed and their attributes. So what are the employees attributes? Knowledge, skills, abilities, and also expertise, experiences, etc. Okay, so actually in staffing you can remember some of the keywords here, like acquisition, deployment, employment, recruitment process. Okay, attributes of employees, even employees evaluation, all those aspects would come under staffing. Okay, now let's move on to directing. Directing is about pathway in hand, showing the right pathway or showing the right way to achieve the organizational goals. So it means giving instructions, guiding, counseling, motivation, and leading the staff in an organization to achieve organizational goals. Directing is the key managerial function to be performed by the manager along with planning, organizing, staffing, and controlling. Okay, so these are all some of the additional or associated activities that can be counted with directing, like planning, organizing, staffing, and controlling. So actually controlling is a vital part of directing. When you are showing the right way, there should be proper regulation, rules and regulations also to be followed. Okay, so let's move on to the other one, coordination. So when you talk about coordination, which implies process in hand, here you need to remember most important keyword is synchronization and integration of activities within the department, between the departments. Okay, responsibilities and command control and structures to ensure that the resources of an organization are used most efficiently in pursuit of the specified objective. So how well you are able to synchronize the resources between the department or within the organization will definitely have an impact on your productivity. So that's about coordination. So let's move on to the other slide, like reporting. So reporting, which implies proof in hand, it's a brief guide to enterprise reporting. Target roles include managers, business analyst, and system architects. It deals with the level of comfort in sharing the data by which a transparency can be maintained within each level of staff. It also helps in taking the rapid decision right. Okay, so reporting is all about maintaining documents related to organizational activities, organizational events, right? So it gives proof. When you have a proof in your hand, it makes your productivity more valid. Okay, and you will have certain rules and regulations, and you'll also follow certain methods of reporting, right? So reporting is not only about documentation, it also emphasizes on the type of communication, the way you communicate, the flow of communication within your organization. Okay, records, reports, right, etc. Now, what is budgeting? Yes, budgeting is all about fiscal planning or financial planning, right? So it's about profit in hand. It's a process of creating a plan to spend your money. Creating this spending plan allows you to determine in advance whether you will have enough money to do the things you need to do or would like to do. Any management can be considered as successful if defined scope of work is achieved in right time and in right budget. So you need to remember this keyword here, right budget, in right time, so that has to be allocated. And and budgeting could be of many types, so we need to study about types of budgeting and principles of budgeting. All those things we can study in detail later. So when if the question is asked for only 5 marks or 10 marks, you have to just describe what is Posdcorb and write a schematic picture about Posdcorb, and just explain what it is and what are the different elements. Okay, for example, what is budgeting, what are the different elements comes under budgeting. Like it's about spending plan, fiscal planning, financial planning. Okay, so right time and right budgeting. Okay, all these keywords can be used. Now, what's the role of a manager in Posdcorb? Manager is the one who always maintain balance between organizational goals and effort of his people. He always monitors, directs, and suggests each of the team members to achieve organizational goals. So manager will definitely have extended and expanded roles in the organization. So from this paragraph itself, it's clear that he has the role of monitoring, directing, and also evaluating, and also ensuring whether the organizational goals are being achieved or not. Okay. Now, what are the different works of a manager? Budget development and implementation, purchasing and accounting, records management, and management information system. So let's study according to the criteria. Budget development and implementation comes under budgeting. Purchasing and accounting comes under budgeting. Okay, and it's also as part of marketing or material management. Records management and management information system, which comes under recording and reporting. Risk management could be a part of directing and also planning according to identifying the risk and like identifying the boundaries, or identifying the sufficiency or amount of the resources, etc. Okay, grants management and investment flow, that also comes under budgeting. Plan, consult, and manage flow, it's about process. How do you synchronize the activities? Decision making and direction, obviously it's a part of directing. Responsibilities assignment, assigning the responsibilities, it could be coordination, directing. Okay, leading and staffing is about HR management. Yeah, then resource management and allocation. Okay, so all these are the different works which is being done by the or carried out by the manager. Now, considering the diversity of functions, someone holding a manager position expected to have many talents, because a manager has to work in different sectors, like right from planning to budgeting. So different roles and roles are there, different responsibilities are there. So he must be a multi-talented person to handle the abilities, okay, or handle the situation. Some of the competencies which one is expected to possess are problem solving and decision making abilities, integrity, assertively, flexibility, accuracy, and ability to cope with pressure. That's also, see, apart from the professional qualities, I think some of the emotional or personal qualities are also needed to become a manager. For example, integrity, assertiveness is all about emotional intelligence, how well the manager is able to manage or maintain his emotional level. Okay, and flexibility, sometimes you cannot be rigid according to the policies of the organization, so sometimes you will have to take flexible decisions. Okay, and ability to cope with pressure, that's very important. He should know how to manage his stress level. Okay, that should not have a bad impact or negative impact on the productivity or among the coordination of among the manpower or the human resource. Leadership is one of the major quality that has to be recognized in a manager. Among all the activities of any senior authority, those Gulick has mentioned in the Posdcorb principle, something is missing. Something is very important according to this article. So the writer is telling about the leadership, role of leadership. This the vision for the leader is quite mechanical, organizing. For example, is all about formal structure of authority through which work subdivisions are arranged, defined, or coordinated. It ignores various informal ways, relationships upon which most of the organization must relate to get things done. So leadership is all about ability to influence others. Okay, apart from this Posdcorb, and this writer is including one more quality is about leadership, that is also very important, because leadership play an important, a vital role in coordination of activities. Posdcorb is all about a process, about 7 very important functions. that today have deteriorated into exercise. Moreover, this list completely misses the main responsibility to exercise leadership. According to this article, Posdcorb, actually, it's the main thing what is missed out here is leadership. Okay, so few leadership responsibilities anyone must possess in which she or he has to participate, practice in which he or she should be engaged, or he or she should be front runner. This can help everyone understand and appreciate purpose to be achieved and the result to be produced. Any leader has to focus we instead of I. That means esprit de corps. That's about team spirit. If not, this leads to a pyramid where pressure and frustration level is building up in the bottom line and hence leads to instability of organization. Next comes responsibilities of motivation and delegation. To achieve the goal of the organization, any manager has to motivate his or her people pursue the target with energy and creativity. Okay, so here I think some of the leaders qualities are also mentioned by the writer here. Okay, leadership responsibilities, and you can remember or identify the keywords here, like we instead of I. We feeling is mandatory. Otherwise what happens is, like it becomes like a pyramid where bottom level or bottom line will be popped with all this frustration or all this pressure, and it may be leading to it will definitely lead to instability of organization. Okay, so apart from that, we need to also, a manager has to motivate his people or the team to pursue the target with more energy, more creativity, more flexibility, etc. Okay, then here we can see the writer has mentioned about instability and continuous changes in planning with a view of better performance will not allow any person to jump on the second element of Posdcorb principle organizing. This will restrict the organization will grow in the direction of goal. That means, like here the writer is trying to say, like instability, or if you are more interested to change the plan very soon, one after another plan, it makes the employees in trouble and will not, obviously it will disturb the organizational goals. Okay, now moving on to the last conclusion, so let's conclude. Posdcorb view overlooks the fact that different agencies are particular to the nature of the services they render, the functions they perform, because all organizations are unique in their functions or services. The principles takes into consideration only the common techniques of administration and ignores the study of subject matter with which organization is concerned. It doesn't include any formula or any guideline to implement the policy. Furthermore, it does not focus on the leadership skills mentioned in last chapter. Apart from all the loopholes, principles has it helps anyone to prepare a chart or sequence of essential activities to perform any task. It also helps to highlight span of control, limit of number of people that manager can supervise. The strength of Posdcorb principle can be seen in the division of work, authority, responsibility, allocation, discipline, unity of command, direction, and peer level of communication. So, to conclude, actually, the writer is emphasizing on the advantages and disadvantages of Posdcorb. Definitely, Posdcorb highlights, the importance of 5 14 principles. It helps to, scientifically apply those principles in action. Then, apart from that, in Posdcorb, one of the missed out section is about leadership. So, manager should also inculcate leadership skills so that the productivity of the organization will be much more better. Okay, so that's about the conclusion. Hope it's clear for everyone. So thanks for watching. Bye bye.